a second navigational menu. If we go into Courses, down to VT 1400, click on that. And inside of our grid, we can click on CSS, and we've got the second menu tutorial. So I'm going to click on that. And if we want to get the source code for that, this is another way to do it. I mean, we can get it using the page source in the developer menu or view source, or we can just grab it right here. And we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just grab the source code right here, copy it, and I'm going to go into my text wrangler and bring that window up, and I'm going to paste that. Now, once I grab that code, I can go to File, Save. I'm going to name this Menu2.html and put that on the desktop. And you can see what that menu will do. So if I grab that and bring that up in a browser window, I can go ahead and view what that's going to do. So I have my menu here, and this is what we're going to build with Menu 2. So let's go ahead and look at the code. First thing I want to do is make my font size a little bit bigger so you can actually see what I'm doing. And we'll go ahead and do that, and let's go through it. Now this menu is very similar to the other document we created in Menu 1. So I'll go through that, and we'll list out some of the things that are different. We start out with our doc type HTML. We do HTML, head, title, and we've done that many times so far. We're going to do an internal style sheet. This is how we start it, if you remember, and down here is how we end it. So we can do all of our CSS style elements up in that area. And let's look at what those are. We have body. Our background color is going to be gray. Margin 0px. That'll set basically 0 around the edge, not off bottom. I could actually get rid of that. Container. Our first container. So body is an HTML selector, and we're going to be calling that in the HTML document right here. So what that does is it sets the properties of body to that. And so if we look at those, we've got a background color of gray and no margin around all 4 margins. Next thing, and when I say all 4 margins, I'm talking about top, right, bottom, and left margins. Next thing we look at is the container. And again, this is an ID selector. We're using a number sign, the name of the selector, and the width of this one is going to be 700 pixels. Padding, we're going to have 0 padding, again around the top, right, bottom, and left pads. We're going to have no space. Margin, now we have 10px and then auto, so it'll give a top margin of 10, and then it'll center the container. So what does that mean? Well, if we look at this, it's going to give us a 10px margin and then center it. So we have a margin between the 2 elements, and then we center it. So center it means if I move my browser and resize it, it's going to keep that centered within the page. And that's what that margin auto does. Alright, let's look at some of the rest. Number sign links. What is number sign links? Well, if we go down into the HTML document, we're going to do an unordered list, ID equals links. So this is our ID for links. So list style none. This specifies the list properties set to none. Margin 0 sets all 4 margins to 0. Padding, all 4 paddings to 0. Width is going to be 700 px. That's going to be the width of the ID. The background color is going to be red. Height is going to be 35 pixels. The bottom margin is going to be 10 px. Color is going to be white. So that sets the text color to white. This is going to set the border to a darker gray. All 3 is a little bit darker gray. And it'll be solid. Border left will be 0px. So the left border will have 0px in its value. The next thing, we have number sign links and then li. So what does that mean? Well, number sign links is one of our IDs or selectors. It's a selector ID. And when we add the li to it and we look down here, so we're going to come down here and say this is the ID links, and then these are the HTML selectors that are going to be impacted by that. So LI, let's go down and look at those again. So right here, LI. So how are those going to be impacted? First of all, we're going to float them left. And now that may be a new term. What that does is it basically takes the element and goes from left to right. So it'll do one here, next one, next one, next one, next one. So it'll put each element left to right next to each other. This sets the width of how wide those will be, sets your padding to 0 and your margins to 0. Now the links LIA, let's go down and look at where those are going to be impacted. So now we're all the way into, didn't mean to move that, all the way to here. So that whole line. So links LIA, display block. What that does is that says this element is going to take the full width available. Height, again, sets the height of the document or that element to 35px. Line height, this is how you vertically center these pieces. If you don't have your line height in there, and you can play with that, it'll go up and down. Text align center aligns those center within the element. Color white sets each of those elements to white, so you can see that they're white here. Font size 14 point. Actually, I usually do those as px, but we can set them as point there. Font weight, bold, so it's going to be a thicker font weight. Text decoration, none, gets rid of the underlining. A border, we'll have a solid gray line border of 1 pixel. Background, this is setting the background color, now it'll be red. So that's addressing all of those issues up there. Now the list item hover, now when you set a background cover on the LIA, what is that going to do? Well, it's going to change the background color to red. It's actually not going to be red, that's not the right color. If we roll back over this, it's going to be blue. I could tell that by the hex value there. So we set the LIA hover so that when you roll over it, anywhere in there, that's part of the block, that you get the blue for the whole block of that. Content. Now this content piece, if we look down here, we're going to look for the div ID content. So we got div ID content, so it's number sign content, and then it's got a paragraph that has some text in it. So the content ID has a background color of light gray, a minimum height of 300 pixels. Padding. So when you have a padding and 2 numbers like this, what does that mean? Well, the first number sets the top and bottom to 20 and the left and right padding to 60. So you'll have a lot bigger width between the two than you will top and bottom. The border, 1px solid, 333. You're gonna have a dark gray solid border around it, and then the color of it is going to be, when you have that color, that's going to be your text color, and that'll be dark gray. Video isn't used in this. That was we're sticking some videos in there, and we pulled those out, so you won't have to worry about that whole section. We end the style, we end the head, we start our body, we call our container, our links, each of our links in there, and then the content. So that's an explanation of how you build out menu number 2. Go ahead and save that, refresh that, and we're good to go.